So, introductions.
My name's Gene Leknovich. I play the Warforged Zed for B&B Tavern in D&D 5e. I'm originally from Jersey, and yeah, here to have some good times.
I'm Chris Abrahamson. I play Adder Double D Cop. He's a monk cleric acolyte, I believe. No, he's not a cleric. And I'm from all over.
I'm Chris French. I play Reddock Frostgaze, the Dwarven Cleric, in this game, Far Reach, The Quest for Power.
Alright. My name is Dennis Burke. I play Roderick in this campaign, human variant paladin, and I'm here to kick some evil butt.
And my name is Baylor, and I am the CEO of, the B&B Tavern, and these guys are part of one of the many series that we have on our channel, and they're also awesome people as well. And I am from here.
Except this guy.
I don't know about that guy.
We have our bad days.
This one's wearing a.
Oh, we will.
This one's wearing a cockatoo suit.
It's pronounced Akigaru.
We gotta show close of that.
No gang signs. No gang signs.
No. I'm cool. We're cool.
Looking it out of
This is our sign, because it's the letter B, B&B.
Yeah, B&B.
Alright, cool. So, let's start with this. B&B Tavern is directed to you.
Okay.
B&B Tavern, where does the concept come from? Can you describe a little bit of your journey towards this, creating it?
The origin of B&B Tavern is that I myself have edited for YouTubers for a few years now, and I've done stuff, but the thing is I've never done any personal YouTube stuff before, and I enjoy shows like previously stated by maybe some people like Acquisition Incorporated, High Rollers and Critical Role, and just different D&D series, and then I see these on channels that cover a bunch of different things, but there's no real D&D strictly channel, and then they don't really try to explore more of it with D&D. So it's sort of, I'm trying to make this sort of like not like the D&D channel, but a very entertaining channel that uses strictly D&D ideas and concepts and game mechanics, and basically a good idea to sort of story tell and in an original manner that makes it feel more personal, because a lot of these we do have a lot of voice actors that play, yes, but we also have a lot of people that play that are genuine players, and they also have great funny moments, and they're really good at being their character, and it makes it more enjoyable, and it feels on a personal level of like being like friends with them.
Excellent. Going left to right in completion. Let's talk a little bit about what got you into role playing games and ultimately D&D.
Starting with me?
Yes, sir.
Alright. Where I started the role-playing games, I remember my two best friends growing up, their older brothers and their older family, they were just like everybody else, just like us, a bunch of nerds, playing their own role-playing, and we weren't always invited to that because they were so much older than us. So what one of my friends did was he created his own broken patch workload system. We'd always get together in afternoons, sit there, we draw, we roll our characters, and just have a great time. That eventually led to one of our friends acquainting themselves with another who ran D&D. It was 3.5 edition at the time, so it was about 5 years ago now. First time I went there, it was big, just garage. Had like 10 people around the table. It was a completely new experience to me. Everyone was super nice, supportive, just a bunch of people getting together and just have a good time.
Excellent. Hold that for 1 second.
He's so tall, he's saying the camera just a little.
Stay professional.
It's just a really good shot, too.
Stay professional.
right, so when did I start playing D&D, and what brought me into it? My cousin and my sister and I, we always used to play all kinds of role-playing games back in the day, all on the consoles. We had PlayStation, we played stuff like Legend of Dragoon, Baldur's Gate, all that kind of stuff.
Legend of Dragoon.
And, oh man, and we'd play all kinds of other games like that, basically anything that would catch our interest. And one day my cousin bought the Dungeons and Dragons books. And he said, hey, it's like those other RPGs, but there are no limits to this one. We can use our imaginations. Back in New York, my cousin and my sister and I, we would play all kinds of role-playing games, like all on the consoles. We had a PlayStation. We'd play Legend of Dragoon, Baldur's Gate. We'd love Magic the Gathering, and I still do to this day. And all of those things always intrigued us. The story, the character, all that kind of stuff. And one day, my cousin had gotten the books for Dungeons & Dragons, and he comes up to us and says, this is just like the RPGs we usually play, but there's no limitations to this one. We can just, it's as far as our imagination can stretch. And yeah, since then, I just feel like it's a great way to practice some camaraderie and storytelling.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, you just told me that.
I get it. You don't have to repeat yourself.
So anyway, back in New York.
Okay.
I'm gonna shoot right to you.
Okay.
Close in on you a little bit there.
You want me
Get
to
my
turn
good
it
side.
Oh, you gotta get
You can
behind him.
basically speak like you're talking to the mic.
Roll for
Okay.
roll
Okay.
for good side.
So,
You don't have one.
Action.
I started RPGs basically the same way you did. It was with Legend of Dragoon, and stuff like stuff like Final Fantasy always intrigued me. And one day, I started playing the Fallouts and single player RPGs instead of JRPGs that were party based and stuff. And I was like, this is really cool, but it would be way cooler being multiplayer. And then I've started watching Acquisitions Inc. and Critical Role, and it just inspired me. Hey, I should probably see if there's anywhere around here that does Dungeons and Dragons, because it seems like such a different experience. You're actually playing with people. You don't have the limitations that normal video game RPGs have. And I found a local gaming store, Plus One, and I started playing there, and I've been playing there every Monday and Wednesday since.
Perfect. All right, and
Everyone, just get a wide shot of us judging him the entire time. Just
Great, more pressure on me.
Well, I mean,
You gotta pull down the hood more.
Yeah, just completely obscure your eyes. Like, well, you know.
it's just like
action.
Alright. I started playing D&D. Well, okay, let me backtrack. I started playing role-playing games about 2 years ago. I hopped on the bandwagon of everybody's like, oh, let's play Skyrim. Have you played Skyrim? And I'm like, no. And so I eventually got it, and that's really what sparked my role-playing, like my love for like role-playing games. And I think 2 years ago, when Chris's brother Ryan, he got me. He introduced me to Dungeons and Dragons, and he was like, "I think you'd like it, man. You know, it's just a cool. You know, it's just another way to play." And I was really hesitant because I didn't really get out much, so I was like, I don't know if I would like it. And I thought to myself, isn't that like a nerdy game, like what all those other people play? And I was like, and he was like really reassuring. No, man, I think you'd like it. So one day he brought me to Plus One Gaming, and
Speak right here.
he brought me to Plus One Gaming, and I rolled up a character, and after my first game, it was. I fell in love with it. It was awesome. It was the social atmosphere really made me grow as a person. After getting out the house a lot, going and playing with my friends, making more friends, it was just a more positive experience in my life. So.
It's amazing. Let me ask you one more question.
Sure.
And remember, just speak
Why are you
to
wearing
the
that?
right here.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Speak to the invisible man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gene, you're invisible.
Sure, how old that plaid?
Because you had a little bit of a social problem or issue or whatever, it's really
Right.
not a problem.
Hmm.
What was your perspective on what Pokemon Go did to bring in people out of the house?
Oh, Pokemon Go it's revolutionary. When I first heard about it, again, like I was like, I don't know if Pokemon is like my thing. I never really grew up with Pokemon or not much of like those popular games, but I kind of gave in. I was like, let me figure it out, and then these guys here, people of +1, they were like, hey, let's go play Pokemon Go, and we went to a boat launch. My very first time we went to a boat launch, and it was great. We had an awesome time. We were just talking about Pokemon and just having a good time, and yeah.
Cool. So what Pokemon Go also started doing was introducing new relationships, and some of them have ended up being meaningful relationships. People have gotten together and gotten even new fiancés out of it. Had dates and everything.
Right.
But the virtual reality has a double-sided coin. So what do you think about virtual reality becoming that scary virtual reality versus it doing something like what Pokemon Go did? And why did it become such a craze and then it kind of died out?
I think Pokemon Go, because it blew up, well, the reason it blew up so much was it brought a new light to gaming, and it got out of it. It broadened the spectrum of how to play a game, it being on your phone and how it was readily accessible, and the social aspect of everyone being able to play, everyone being able to play the same thing, and everyone talking about it. It just brought everybody together. It created a community where people can get together and just be themselves and share the love of Pokemon.
Perfect.
The reason why I created B&B Tavern was to get an understanding of this, the field of this fantasy role-playing, and like D&D itself is so much more customizable than any video game you could ever imagine. And I really enjoy it, and also I thought making a YouTube channel and working with a bunch of artists, I thought that would be a great way to sort of have a reason to work with all different kinds of people, because I love working on projects and I love working with people, and a lot of times I like making my own projects. And the thought of D&D as a YouTube channel and such, and that means countless options and countless ideas for series and shows, and that makes it almost infinite, and I can share that world with people, and I think that's a really great idea. Whether it's audience or artists or actors or illustrators or anything, I think that's what the goal of the channel is to be able to be as freeform as possible with some kind of context, and being able to let different kinds of artists be able to express themselves in this YouTube channel.
Excellent. All right. Get some shots of this. Right.
No, yeah, fine.
You listening to my dick, dude? Why are you pointing it down there? I mean, microphone.
Do you even splash, bro?
Tastes like burning.
Tastes like burning. I will be starting to edit yours, and then after that, I will start.
I'm originally from Michigan, and I moved down here to New Orleans because I'm in the U.S. Coast Guard.
Awesome. So, what place do you hold? Well, let me ask you this first. What is D&D to you?
Dungeons and Dragons is a game of fantasy. It's a game of adventure. It's a game that makes you feel, lets you escape for that moment in time, so you can forget about the worries in the world that's around you. It's Dungeons and Dragons is. It almost becomes a part of kind of your everyday thought after you play it so much, even when you're like driving down the road or you're doing something simplistic. You always think of when you do something, you're like, oh geez, I think I should be rolling a d20 to see if I can actually succeed in doing something like that. But Dungeons and Dragons is it's an exciting adventure that all you need is a piece of paper, a dice, and a couple of people to play with.
Amazing. So, how long would you say you've been playing role-playing games, Dungeons and Dragons specifically? Let's start with role-playing.
I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons or role playing since I was in college about 20 years ago. One of the games that I played was a game called Champions. That was a game of superheroes, and that got me into it. It was a game that made me think, what can't I do in a game, and then try to figure out a way of how can I make that work in the game that I want to build, or how do I want to build it so I can incorporate that aspect of the game into it. That was about 20 years ago.
Amazing. How did that lead into to the D&D?
Well, played Champions for that first year. That same group then did LARPing, and I got into that, and that was fun for a short time. But the idea of LARPing didn't quite hold as much, but the idea of that fantasy, like medieval, it did. And that brought me back into Dungeons and Dragons. Started playing, I played version 2 back then, and it was fun, but it was just a little too complex. But once I got into version 5, this is so much easier. The rules are very clear, they're very clean. You can kind of adjust them how you feel, and you're really not breaking the game. And that's what brought me into like what I'm doing right now, is being the dungeon master, and I enjoy that the most.
So, what place do you hold? As a matter of fact, how many groups, how many Dungeons and Dragon groups have you been a part of? How many teams have you been a part of? Tell me about the championships that you played with, and tell me about your journey.
All right. Well, how many groups am I a part of? I would have to say there's a Monday night group that I play at Plus One Gaming. I play a ranger there. I am a dungeon master for one other session that is similar to this campaign that I'm running right now. And then I also run the same exact session for my nieces and my nephew up in Michigan. And it is this similar style, a little less violent, a little less graphic, but it's still a lot of fun. And I like doing homebrew more than I do, pre-made campaigns. Those are great, but I can't. I like to do more, I guess you could say, improv type stuff, and with the campaign, it's kind of structured, kind of linear, kind of puts you down a direct path. And with homebrew, you can go in any direction you want, and that's what I do right now. Other than work, Dungeons and Dragons pretty much fills up all my time.
That's amazing. So, let's get a little bit more detail on linear versus homebrew.
There's a few of them. There's the Horde of the Dragon Queen. There's the Curse of Strahd. That one is more a free open world, but the Rise of Tiamat, those are in the campaign. When you read them, you're watching the players move you're pushing them in a direction, and when you're pushing them in a direction, there's a fine line between forcing them down and them realizing what you're doing, and you telling them a story of how this epic adventure is going about. And with a homebrew, it doesn't matter which direction, because when you find them asking a question about a specific place and you can say, oh yeah, I've already kind of built that area, you don't have to have it readily available right then and there. You can build it as they're walking through the world. And that is an amazing, it's an exciting thing for me, because it gets my active juices flowing, but it also inspires the group that is playing, so then they can kind of feel as if they're exploring the world with you. And that's why I like homebrew, is because there can be some added flavor and some added joy to not just the dungeon master, but to the players themselves. And I love watching the players themselves see and feel the world as you've wanted to see and feel that world. And that's kind of exciting to me.
It's exciting to a lot of people, obviously. Why do you think the flair has stayed so strong as far as the franchise, just the specific franchise?
Oh goodness. There's a bunch of different groups, but the two that I can say, and I could be then disputed, contradicted, any of those things, but I would have to say that the Acquisitions Incorporated, as well as the Vox Machina, those two groups have kind of helped build and maintain the adult level of gaming in a professional standpoint, because these people are professional actors, and some of them are directors, and some of them, they know how to use their voice, they know how to build suspense and tell a really good story, a narrative that can hold you. And I mean look at what happened with the show Stranger Things. If it wasn't for if it wasn't for Matt Mercer and that group, and then Acquisitions Incorporated and that group, you wouldn't have Stranger Things putting Dungeons and Dragons in their story. I could be wrong, but it feels as if that show was built on some of that fire, some of that excitement that people have been wanting for a while, that wasn't out there for such a long time. It's kind of been simmering and smoldering, but the past 2 years it's exploded, and it's amazing to watch this happen, and me wanting to feel that same thing by trying to tell a narrative is in a similar way of like trying to recreate my own Vox Machina or my own Acquisitions Incorporated or my own, Stranger Things. And that's really fun to me, and seeing if I can kind of get my group to feel that feeling that I have.
Would you say exactly what you just described, which is passion at its finest? Doing it for the love of it, instead of trying to be the next name or create your own game and sell that. Doing it for the money, right? Whatever you do, doing it for the money. Would you say that this helps to keep it grounded in life overall? Whatever you do.
These guys keep me grounded. They show my faults like every second, and I realize that I am not there yet. I know that I can tell a good story every once in a while. I can describe things in a decent manner, but I know that these people keep me in check, keeping me. Reality is, I need this group of people to show me that not only am I doing a good job, but I'm also staying on the earth and not being up in the clouds going, oh, well, hey, look at me, I'm this. That's not what this is about. The story has to be always reminded that the Dungeon Master is not the focus. It is the group of people that you're trying to get involved in that story. And if you can't get those people involved in the story, you're not able to, either A, that group isn't right, or B, you're not ready for being a dungeon master yet. And that's important to also understand. But again, if you don't make mistakes, if you don't make those mistakes, then you'll never learn how to resolve issues that you've had before. And that's really important. And again, it's this group of people that helped me do that.
When you say resolving issues, can you walk us through a scenario in the gameplay where everyone's been trapped somewhere, trying to get let out somewhere, and your experience and how that is synonymous with the experience points that are built up in role-playing games actually plays a part? Can you parallel that to why what you're saying is relevant?
Yeah, when you're to find yourself in a scenario that can get you an experience that can get you out of, say, a bad situation, either being a dungeon master or being a player itself, it's hard to find one specific thing. But one of the times was, again, playing Champions 20 years ago. My character was Ned Nealander, like a psionic type of creature that was German. Finding myself that I had to sacrifice, little Neddy had to sacrifice himself for the entire group, and I knew that was the only way we'd be able to get out of that situation. So I provoked because we would have been all crushed by this like 400-foot tall creature. I had to do the one thing that I thought was the right way to do it, when after the fact the GM said, well, all you had to do was this. And then I'm like, oh, not realizing that there are multiple avenues outside of this scenario. Little Nettie is still unconscious to this day. 20 years later, I know, because my friend keeps teasing me about it. He's like, oh yeah, little Nettie is still unconscious from being smacked across the earth. But yeah, those things where you learn, either being a player or being a dungeon master, kind of like figuring out what avenues do you have in order to get yourself out of a tricky situation, whether it being a player that does something wrong or the dungeon master puts you up against a immovable force or immovable object. It takes practice, and you'll still never get it right every single time. It's different every single situation, and it sucks, but it's also exciting.
Brings you to a different mentality, a different paradigm, like you were saying in the beginning. What would you do to be able to consistently stay in that paradigm and not ever have to go back? Like, first of all, what do you do for work?
I'm in the Coast Guard, and I am a communications person. I basically do the radio, the search and rescue, the marine casualty side. When people call up on the radio, I am the person that tries to calm them down. Again, my voice is a little has a frog in it because of I don't know, but normally I'm able to just talk to this person, calm them down if they have if they're in a situation they need help, or they're out on the water. But Dungeons and Dragons gets me away from that, because there are certain times when it's really nasty out there, and I'm hearing some really nasty things on the radio that are really, really bad, and I just need to escape. And so going into this world, building this world, is kind of my cathartic resolve. It helps me pull out of that, and it actually, even though it's kind of doom and gloom, it actually keeps me in a good mood, because I find myself building something that keeps my interest, and then hopefully it keeps the player's interest as well, and that's really important.
Cut.